Hi, everyone. My name's Ken Reed. I'm a vice president here at System Improvements with Taproot. I had a post on LinkedIn a few days ago. This time, quite honestly, we decided to do something a little different, and I guess you might call it a playful bait and switch if you want to call it that. But we decided to talk a little bit about root causes in general. The post itself said basically there's no such thing as a root cause, and obviously in jest. But it really garnered a lot of comments and a lot of discussions, which is actually the purpose of it, is so we can get the community thinking and talking about these things. The first thing I wanted to address, I think there were some people that didn't properly read the post. So I'm going to read a couple of things here, some of the comments, and just kind of address them very quickly. A gentleman said, BS, there's always a root cause, no matter safety, mechanical, electrical, medical. This amounts to fixing problems with Band-Aids, treating symptoms, and not curing the disease. He said, do better than this. Another comment was, corrosion is a root cause, especially in electronics. And I'm thinking that possibly they didn't actually read the post and didn't get the idea that, of course, there's a root cause. That was the whole purpose of the post. Some of the comments discussed, for example, maybe it's just semantics about what a root cause is. What's the root cause of all the arguing about semantics, right? Somebody is just talking about squabbling over definitions of root causes. That could possibly be true. I mean, there is a difference in semantics about what we consider a root cause. People do contributing factors, contributing causes. We here at Taproot call everything a root cause, and it just makes it simpler and easy to understand, and there's less debate about what a root cause is. So I'm not too concerned with the semantics piece. That's okay. Having some questions about semantics is perfectly okay. However, I do have some people that actually seem to agree with the premise that there's no such thing as a root cause. This person here said, anything you label as a root cause is the effect of some other cause ad infinitum. In other words, you never actually get to a root cause. It'll just keep going as far as you want to go with it. Root causes exist in some situations when the problems are very simple, but such problems are easily solved and organically by people. So people can just figure this out is the thought process here. And honestly, this one here I want to just mention is where some of those consultants that are saying there's no such thing as a root cause, this is their premise is, well, it's humans and humans just make errors and we just have to accept that humans make errors. And we'll all discuss what the problem was and we'll figure out what the corrective actions are going to be without identifying root causes. So we don't need this root cause stuff. That's one of the thinking that goes in there. And another thought is, as soon as you come up with a root cause, you're blaming somebody. It's a blame kind of thing. Root cause can be a blamey kind of thing if you don't do it right. Root cause analysis needs to not just go to humans. Root cause analysis should go to human performance. Why did a human make this error? What allowed them to make a mistake or make an error? There's nothing wrong with identifying an error. The error in Taproot is not a root cause. The error is the mistake that a smart person made that we as a company need to put things in place to prevent that error from happening again. And those things that we're going to put in place, the things that we find that led to that error are the root causes. So a lot of times when we're talking about blame showing up in a root cause analysis, it's almost always because the system did not dig deep enough. It stopped at the error level, and then the corrective actions are almost always blame-oriented because we're trying to fix the error, not the reasons for the error. One of the comments here I wanted to discuss a little bit here. It says, if there is a fault, there should be blame. This creates a focus where the issue is efficiently and fairly solved, creating preventative actions and keeping people cautious. I understand this thought process that, hey, if we can make sure the person understands a mistake was made, that person is now more focused. I can't really agree with the process, though. If there is a fault, we should identify the fault. I'll agree with that. We need to identify the error. Perfectly okay with that. In Taproot, we call that a causal factor. Perfectly okay with that. Stopping at that point is where the blame comes in, though. If you stop at the error and say, this guy fell asleep, corrective actions. Fire the guy, tell him not to fall asleep again, tell him to be more careful next time, stay alert. These are useless corrective actions that aren't going to fix anything. It puts the onus on that guy that fell asleep, right? But it certainly isn't going to prevent somebody in the future from falling asleep, except kind of what you're hinting at here with fear, right? Preventing actions and keeping people cautious. I'm going to call that fear. That isn't the best way, in my opinion, to run your business, is have people afraid they're going to get caught doing something wrong. What we want to do is identify those errors and then look at our systems, what we can do better in the future to prevent these kind of errors from happening again. I don't want people afraid to come to work. I want them to understand there was an error, and how are we as a company going to help the employee with the tools they need to prevent that error in the future. That's what we should be doing with root cause analysis. This one talks about legal. Once you get to the legal side of it, right? The legal profession will never ask for RCA in court proceedings. So let me talk about legal very quickly. I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but there's oftentimes a legal implication to an error, right? With something, especially if something serious happens, if there's a serious injury or a large piece of equipment that's broken, the legal people will get called in. And I understand that the legal department has a job. Their job is to protect the company. That's their job. That is what they're hired for. And one of the methods they use for that is to assign blame to somebody else, right? It wasn't our company. It was this guy over here. It was this subcontractor over here. It was the regulations didn't allow this, or they made us do this. So the legal team is oftentimes trying to assign blame, which is kind of the opposite of what a root cause analysis is trying to do, which is get rid of blame and just analyze the facts. So I am not putting down the legal side. I am saying that they sometimes have different goals, and you have to kind of see how those are going to mesh together with the root cause analysis piece. Legal has their purpose, and a good purpose. They keep our company up and running and shielded to some extent. They do sometimes have a counter direction that they're going to, a counter goal to what we're doing sometimes. This comment actually is a pretty good one too. RCA itself already implies a negative connotation, but try doing an RCA on what good looks like. So I kind of like that thought. You don't only have to do a root cause analysis on the bad stuff. If you can change that thought process a little bit and say, well, maybe we had an error here, but if we had done it right, what would it have looked like? And what can we do to make it look better next time? So that's kind of a positive way to look at an error or a mistake or an incident that occurred. Another way that I'm kind of thinking about this is you can do a root cause analysis on why a process went right. In fact, I'll go even deeper and say very few companies actually do that, where they'll take the results of a good task or process and do an RCA on that. I think there's a lot of opportunities there that a lot of companies don't have a chance to think about. This comment, appreciate your bold post and your passion for promoting effective RCA. Like a different angle on this. They say, and this goes into, there is a root cause for every incident. What truly matters is whether we reach the actual root cause. He's going into human and organizational performance. This is HOP kind of stuff. They said they don't reject root cause thinking. They expand it by helping us understand the context behind human errors. So I agree with that. HOP, I have found, I saw the other day somebody said, hey, does Taproot do what HOP does? Did they try to get rid of blame? I'm thinking Taproot's been around a lot longer than HOP has. This is the basis of Taproot's root cause analysis, is eliminating blame and getting to human performance-based scientific type root causes. HOP has started doing that over the past few years, and I'm thrilled with that there's another organization that is jumping on the bandwagon there. That's great. Now, I'm not going to try to tell you that I'm a trained HOP kind of guy. I'm not, but I've seen it used. I've seen the learning teams get together in a room. I think learning teams are a great way to help you build in Taproot what we consider to be a snap chart. It's a great evidence collection tool where you get a bunch of smart people in a room and they say, this is how it was supposed to work, and here's some problems that we saw in there. I think that's great. And for us, that would be our evidence collection phase. I think that's a wonderful way of collecting data. I haven't seen that you get those smart people in a room, though, that are able to get to human performance problems. That's kind of the issue I have with that to some extent. Unless you happen to have somebody at your company who is already a human performance expert and they are in the room and the learning team, you're probably not going to get to human performance-based root causes because you're just not trained in that. If you're a training guy, you're going to be looking for all kinds of training problems because that's what you're familiar with. And amazingly enough, you'll get training root causes and training corrective actions out of that. Great. Hopefully you have a procedure guy in there, and you have an operational guy in there, and you have a management kind of guy in there, and you have a supervisor in there, and you have a human engineering kind of guy in your team. If you don't have all these people in there, you're going to miss stuff. And that's where a guided, more structured root cause analysis system like Taproot ensures that you don't miss things. So I appreciate this thought process. Root cause analysis isn't about blame. It's eliminating the causes. I'm all on board with that. Another item that I'd like to just quickly talk about, there's several comments came up throughout. There's over 500 and some comments here, so I wasn't able to look at every one of them. But there was a theme in here about a root cause. While there are some consultants that say there are no root causes, there are quite a few also that say, well, sure, there's a root cause. And they mean it that way. There is a root cause. Again, in all the time I've been doing Taproot investigations, I have never found a single root cause. And that's because our companies are smart companies. We don't set up our processes to allow a single point failure. So very rarely does a single issue, a single mistake, a single root cause lead to an incident. We have all kinds of checks and balances to ensure one guy pushing the wrong button doesn't cause an explosion, right? There's interlocks, training, and all kinds of what we call safeguards to ensure that a single point failure doesn't occur. So it's rare that you will find a single root cause. There are a lot of comments in here and a lot of really insightful comments that came out in agreement or refining the premise that I put in place, that of course there's root causes to things. The only people that believe there is no root cause are the ones that haven't been doing it right from the start. Right? So true organizational learning starts with the question, why did my professional think that this was right or necessary? And when we're saying professional, we mean the people we have working with us, right? We don't hire people that we don't think can do the job. So obviously we hire professionals to do the tasks at our companies. So we want our people at our company to have the tools in place to be successful. And finding those root causes and then putting corrective actions in place, targeting those root causes, is what helps our employees do a better job and helps them make their task easier to do it right, harder to do it wrong. And that's kind of the direction you want to go. Root cause analysis is a tool, not a magic wand or silver bullet. I like that thought. When applied correctly, it helps organizations learn from failures. And that is what hopefully organizations get out of a root cause analysis. They should be thinking to themselves, not, oh, how did we screw this up, but how can we prevent having a mistake in the future? How can we do better? How can we help our employees do a better job in the future? And I want to make sure I'm clear. Anytime I say our employees, I'm including every one of us in that, right? We all make errors. We all make mistakes. We all want to do better. So when I say employees, I'm using that as kind of a subset of all of us, right? Because we all do things we're not supposed to do. We all make mistakes. And that's what we're trying to take a look at here. I love this take, Ken. So many people take advantage of speaking into the void left by lack of knowledge, right? So we'll fix this. Well, we don't even know what happened, but we'll fix it anyway. And really don't have good information or sometimes, as this person mentions, twisting it just slightly to support their view, right? If your root cause analysis system is allowing bias into your investigations, your system is not working properly, your root cause analysis and investigation system. So you always have to make sure that the system you're using is helping you focus as an investigator on unbiased information and getting unbiased results out of that. Structured processes like Taproot do that for you. These structured processes guide you to get the same answers that a trained human performance expert would get. So you're not just getting an answer, you're getting good answers. You're getting the right answers out of the system. So that's exactly right. If you're not gathering the right data or analyzing it properly. Nice, and very much agree on consultant gobbledygook, one of our biggest risks. Yeah, I try to, I know I'm probably categorized in there as a consultant. I know that's, I don't feel that way. I don't feel like I'm a consultant at all, but I do feel that there are some organizations out there or some people out there who are trying to just stir things up and not really look at the right way to help their customers out. I see what you did here, a little reverse psychology. Love it. There are so many consultants who make up convoluted methods just to increase billable hours. And I'm not putting down consultants. There are some important roles out there for consultants because you as a business don't have the resources to have an expert at every single thing at your company. So it's good to have a consultant who is an expert, but you got to find that right consultant that is the expert and not just somebody who's trying to figure out how to get the next 10 hours of billable hours on their timesheet. So I think that's an important piece of that. This person is in the medical field. They say this is a vital process in process improvement. It's not a punitive endeavor and is clearly laid out in advance as such. Every mistake made in medicine requires a relook at how the process works or doesn't work, or if there were touch points along the way that could have been done more efficiently. So it's kind of a long post here, and it's really good. I abhor many things in the ways certain things are conducted in medicine. Identifying why something went wrong allows changes to be made to ensure that they don't happen again. So I am thrilled to hear this from different communities. Medical community is a great example where there's a lot of risk of human error. And if you're just in the habit of pointing fingers and blaming people, and I'm going to say this as a general rule, this isn't true always, but medical community ends up with a lot of blame sometimes. It's kind of how the system's set up with lawsuits and everything else. We're all trying to figure out who to point fingers at sometimes in the medical community. So I think RCA, unbiased RCA, is even more important in those kind of industries where blame is sometimes inadvertently or unknowingly or accepted as part of the investigation process. Perfect example here. If you believe root cause is a blame game, then you aren't using the concept correctly. I think that summarizes exactly what we're talking about here. If you're ending up pointing fingers at people and blaming people, you're not using a good root cause analysis system. Okay, well, I hope that's helpful a little bit. Again, I'm going to go in and try to answer a few more of the comments. There's this, I'm going to be honest, this blew up quite a bit bigger than I thought it was going to, and I am thrilled that we have this much discussion about root cause analysis and instant investigations. It's something I've been doing now for almost 20 years, and I really appreciate everyone joining in the conversation and giving your input. A lot of people had nuances to this and how they applied it to their companies. So there's a lot of lessons learned that you can learn. I encourage you to go take a look at the post, read through some of those comments, and then give me some of that feedback in your comments. I find that after all this time, I'm still learning things and still seeing some of these aha moments pop up into my head and say, hey, that's a great thought. I don't know if I've thought of it that way. You can contact me directly on LinkedIn. I've had quite a few direct messages come in on this via InMail. So if you have some questions that I can answer or something like that, please feel free to contact me. So thanks. I appreciate your time. And any questions about root cause analysis, we're the guys. Let us know. Thanks. Bye-bye.